Hello, this is Brad. I am with Mid-Continent Public Library, and today we are going to explore the National Geographic Magazine Archive. With your Mid-Continent Public Library card, you have access to this database, which contains all National Geographic magazines published between 1888 and 1994. National Geographic began as a scholarly journal, and over the years it made the transition into one of the most well-known and popular magazines that covers a variety of topics, including geography, history, nature, science, and world culture. We are going to see how we can access, read, and reference this massive collection of magazines. Let's go ahead and get started. To get started, we will need to navigate to a web browser. Today, I will use Microsoft Edge. And then we will need to navigate to the library's website. That is mcpl.org. And then once we are on the library's website, we will click the Research and Learning tab near the top. And there are multiple ways to get to this resource, but today we will select Browse Subjects. And then if we scroll down to the Geography and Travel category and select View Resources, we will see the National Geographic Magazine Archive right here. And as I click on the resource, I will be directed to enter my library card number and my last name before I can continue to the resource. Once I put in that information, I will click the blue Submit button, and then I will be taken to the resource. And to access all of the National Geographic magazines, I will select this option over here on the left. And then here I can see all of the National Geographic magazine issues from 1888, when the magazine began, up until December 1994. And to get started, I'm just going to click on that issue, and then it will open the magazine for me. I click this arrow over here to turn the pages of the magazine. Just like with real magazines, there are advertisements. And here we can read the magazine. If I want to make this page larger, there is an option to resize the page over in the right-hand corner of this window. Clicking on that will make these pages full screen. And then I can click those arrows to turn the pages. And I have some other options while I'm reading this magazine. I can zoom in even more using these magnifying icons right here. I can zoom out as well. And I can zoom in if I need a better look at a photo or I need to make the font even larger. These arrows right here will orient the page so that it is either fully landscape, or this up and down arrow will format the page in this way. To the right of that, I can contrast the color and light of the page. This top slider increases the contrast of the images and the text. And the bottom slider increases the brightness of the page as well. If there was a page that was extra dark and I needed to brighten it up so I could read it, I could do so here. If I ever want to reset that to the default settings, I can select the Reset button. And this Invert button will actually invert the color. Some people prefer to read white text on a black page. This could be handy. It does make the images look a little interesting. If I want to jump to a particular page, I can enter that into this dialog box right here. I don't need to turn to it. I can just enter the page number and then select Go, and I will be taken to that page. I can also use these arrows in the top left corner to navigate. I might find those easier to see than the arrows that are on the sides of the page. Let's go ahead and minimize this down to the smaller size. I can also do that by clicking this X here in the middle of the page. If I want to do a search within this magazine, I can do that here. Right now, I am actually looking within this specific article. But if there's something I'm looking for, I can search for it here. I can also expand that search to be within the entire issue of this magazine that I have open. Here I see articles related to my search. And if I go back, we can see that I can also do a search within this entire publication, which is going to search the entire National Geographic magazine selection that we saw earlier. I can get to this issue's table of contents by selecting this button over here. They have sorted the different types of content, such as articles, advertising, departments, and featured articles. So it is not a chronological table of contents. It is more sorted into these different topics. Over here, I can cite an article if I need to do that for a project. Selecting this button will open up the citation that I need. I can just copy that and paste it to my bibliography. There are several different citation formats available: APA, Chicago, and Harvard. I can actually print out pages of the magazine if I need to reference them. I can also get a link to the magazine as well. This would link me to this exact page if I need to refer to it later on. Let's go back to our main area here. Let's go back to the National Geographic Magazine section. I can do a search here, just like I did earlier, and this is going to search all of the National Geographic magazines within this archive. So if there's a particular subject I am looking for, I can look for that here. And it will tell me the issue that was in, the volume number, and even the page number of that as well. I can see featured articles, brief articles, and even advertisements that might fit my search criteria. Let's go ahead and go back to the main area. And if I'm looking for a magazine within a specific time range, I can do that here. I can use these drop-down menus to select magazines for whatever time period I am looking for. Maybe I only want magazines within this time frame. I can clear that filter by selecting Clear All. And I am actually going to scroll down to the very bottom of this page to show you just how many magazines we have access to. We can see that we have 1,224 magazines, but I just want to give you a little glimpse of the different time periods that this magazine has existed for. Here's the first issue in October 1888, when it was primarily a scholarly journal. Let's just go ahead and open that and see what it looks like. It looks a little bit different. No pictures. And now let's go ahead and scroll up and kind of take a look at the timeline. You can tell the differences by the covers. They kind of have a different stylized covers for different eras. You can see this one was pretty popular, even in the early 1900s, even into the 40s. And we start to see in the 1960s that we start getting images on the cover. And then, once it's the 60s and the 70s, we really get some amazing covers on the magazine, which is kind of what Geographic is known for. All the way up to December 1994. We can explore topics here as well. Here we see some of the broad categories that National Geographic covers, and I can search for different articles within these subcategories. And back here on the main page, I want to point out we do have National Geographic Kids. If you have anyone you know that is interested in this, check out our Explore National Geographic Kids video, where we explore this portion of the resource and talk about all of its great features for young learners. This is the National Geographic Magazine Archive. As we can see, there's an extensive collection of these National Geographic magazines that we can read and reference for a project or anything that we might need. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our MCPL 360 Facebook page. We premiere new videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1 p.m. And if you miss the premiere on Facebook, you can watch all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our MCPL Mo YouTube channel. This has been Brad. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.